Hello, I'm Dr. Russell Homan of Canopy Pediatrics here in Tallahassee, Florida, and I'm bringing you another video. But today we had the terrible storm that came into Tallahassee, so I'm shooting this from the comfort of my own home, just like newborns to my practice are seen in the comfort of their own home. So at least I do get to have my socks off and shoes off for this video. So today I'm going to talk to you about how to choose a formula if you have to, because we all know that breast milk is best, but sometimes there's problems or parents prefer not to breastfeed, and you need to choose a formula. So today we're going to talk about how to do that. So why are there so many different options? When you walk into Walmart or you walk into Walgreens, there's just aisles full of formula. And why is that? Well, I can think of two good reasons. One is that babies just fuss and have funny poops and spit up a lot and have trouble sleeping anyway, and parents are going to try whatever they can to get their baby to sleep better and be more comfortable. But the second one is that formulas do cause many problems. Besides, a lot of pediatricians and family practitioners won't say that, but it is true. Formulas do cause a lot of problems. Well, they can cause a lot of problems. So what problems can they cause? Well, pretty much they can cause everything. Fussiness, colic, spit up, diarrhea, constipation, bloody diarrhea, not growing enough, failure to thrive. Pretty much every single thing can be caused by formula. But the good thing is, most of the time, any formula will do. But sometimes formulas can cause these problems. And we all want to get off on the right foot and have a successful parenting experience and want our baby to be healthy. So how do we give ourselves the best shot possible? So that's what we're going to look at. So goals that I think we should have are: one, we should reduce the chance that the formula causes problems. And this really is all about the cow milk protein. Human babies are designed to have human milk, and the human milk proteins doesn't disturb them as much as the cow milk protein, casein, and whey. And some babies, not all babies, they get this protein and it just causes all those problems I listed off. And then every single formula produces their cow milk differently. So for one baby, Enfamil might, work better. Another one, Similac, and another one a different brand. So it's pretty tricky because we're all different. We're all individuals. And then second, how do we give our babies the healthiest formula possible? And I'm going to look at this in two ways. One is the sugar. And most formulas either have corn syrup solids or lactose, and we'll talk about those. And the second one is whether it's organic or conventional. We'll talk about that too. And then just please remember that most babies will do fine with any formula, but this is just all about picking the best and what to do if you're having problems. All right. So hydrolyzed cow milk. So what we can do, or what formula companies have figured out, is that they can hydrolyze the milk with enzymes, which means an enzyme comes through and there's this big, long cow milk protein, and it chops the protein up into little pieces, and then it doesn't have the same effect going through the body as a regular cow milk protein. So a lot of formulas don't have that at all. And then you see on there's the PHF, which stands for partially hydrolyzed formula. And this is a lot of the more common formulas like Gentlease and all of the Gerber Good Start formulas. And then next you have the EHF, which is extensively hydrolyzed formula. If your baby is needing these, it's much better to have the help of your pediatrician or nurse practitioner or family practitioner, because they can get expensive and you need help really picking it, and maybe your child has a different problem besides the formula. And then last, there's amino acid based formulas. And in my practice over the last few years, it seems like I always have 1 or 2 kids, maybe 3 or 4, that are always on an amino acid formula, which if you remember from chemistry, proteins are made of individual amino acids. And these are just so digested and so broken down that they don't cause problems. And amino acid formulas really are important for people who are kind of dangerously allergic to cow milk. The people who will get hives, trouble breathing, vomiting, these kind of things have to be on an amino acid. It's also called elemental formula. So first, we do know that if you have a PHF formula, partially hydrolyzed formula, that a baby will grow more like a breastfed baby. So in the picture there, it's hard to see, but breastfed babies kind of grow real fast and then taper off a little bit. And we know formula, babies fed conventional formula, kind of grow a little slower, and that 4 months they like pass the breastfed babies and keep growing faster than maybe they should, than what's natural. So we know if you have a partially hydrolyzed or extensively hydrolyzed formula, the growth curve will be more similar to a baby-fed human milk. And the other thing, as we know, in a partially hydrolyzed formula, less kids are going to develop the GI symptoms that we talked about. And the other thing is, between the partially hydrolyzed and the extensively hydrolyzed, the EHF ones, they taste and smell terrible and they're more expensive. So please talk to your medical provider before going on to one of those. All right. So next are the sugars. So again, there's the 2 sugars that are found in formulas. One is lactose, and lactose has a terrible rap for some reason. I think mostly it's because a lot of teenagers and adults really are lactose intolerant. But babies, on the other hand, it's like very, very, very rare, like super rare for a baby to really be lactose intolerant. I think because the adults are lactose intolerant, they blame the symptoms they're having. Oh, 1 second. Can you take it to another room? Sorry, my wife's here trying to help. So, again, there's lactose and corn syrup solids. And lactose is beneficial because it gets broken down into glucose and galactose. And corn syrup solids are just glucose. So you'll see in that bottom chart that glucose is the blue graph. So glucose goes straight into the bloodstream and it causes a surge in the blood sugar and then it comes back down quickly. But lactose, on the other hand, has to get broken down first by the enzymes in mine and your baby's body, the lactase enzyme, like lactase milk. And then it's broken down into glucose and galactose. And then galactose has to go through the liver and get broken down to where the body can use it. And then the glucose goes straight into the bloodstream, into the cells. So that's why the red line is more flat, because lactose turns into galactose and doesn't cause the surge in sugar that just straight glucose does. So then, if you can, it would be better to get a formula that has lactose in it to avoid this surge, and that's what you guys have probably heard of, the high glycemic index. Foods with a high glycemic index, they kind of have this surge of blood sugar and then it comes back down. And we found that to be not as healthy as lower glycemic index that don't cause the surge in blood sugar. So we will look for lactose. Then the next one is whether it's organic or not organic. And then for this video, I did look over the research again. And there are studies that do show that, if you do eat organic, you are exposed to less pesticides. And there are studies showing that pesticides are not good for brain development, as we would all know. But there is just there's not that much pesticides usually in conventional products like formula. And these have gone through a ton of processing and filtering. But if it's for your baby, we're going to do what's best. So the other one is omega fatty acids. We know that especially meat and the milk from the cow has more omega fatty acids if they're eating more grass and being raised naturally, and that's for your brain. But on the other hand, only a small part of our omega fatty acids in our diet comes from meat and milk, but a lot of people don't get enough omega fatty acids, so I think it's a plus anyway. So, and the last thing, which all the research shows is probably the biggest deal, is that you avoid exposure to antibiotics, because conventional animals are exposed to a lot of antibiotics. And then you're also avoiding exposure to bacteria that's antibiotic resistant. And that's one reason why a lot of times I still might buy a conventional vegetable, but I usually do spring for the organic meat, just because I want to avoid the antibiotics, because I know what they do to the body. All right, moving on. So let's look at some labels here. Let's pick this one. So Similac Total Comfort we'll look at first, and let's see what the ingredients are. First one is maltodextrin. That's a sugar. It is better than having glucose. And then the next one is whey protein hydrolysate. So that is the hydrolyzed cow milk. So that's good too. So Similac Total Comfort, we'll say that's pretty good. It is not organic though. And then let's look at Similac Sensitive. So Similac Sensitive, the number one ingredient is corn syrup, which is glucose. So as we said earlier, that will cause a blood sugar spike. And then the next one is milk protein isolate, which means that it's not hydrolyzed, so it still could cause some problems. And you get down to, next there's just the oils and other sugars. So this one is supposed to be, they're trying to get people to buy it to avoid lactose, which is really almost never the case. It is like very rare to be lactose intolerant. Well, let's look at this Enfamil product, Reguline. The number one ingredient is partially hydrolyzed non-fat milk and whey protein, which is great. Then vegetable oil. And then next is corn syrup solids and lactose. So at least corn syrup solids isn't number one. And these two, let's see, Nutramigen and Alimentum, these are the EHF, extensively hydrolyzed formulas, which your provider or doctor may suggest if your baby's, having bloody stool, really being colicky, having some reflux, having some spit up. These are the ones your doctor may suggest. And Enfamil Gentilies, I know that this one also does start with corn syrup solids, but at least it does go to partially hydrolyzed non-fat milk next. Then I do think my favorite out of all of them is this Earth's Best Organic Gentle. Because when you look at the ingredients, we know that it is organic, the only one out of these, but Enfamil, and there's some organic ones that aren't here. I don't have all the formulas that are available. And its number one ingredient is organic lactose, so that means there's very little of other sugars. And then the second one is organic non-fat milk. And you have to get down a little bit to find organic partially hydrolyzed whey protein. So even though it is gentle, it does have a little bit of regular milk. But at least it has no corn syrup solids. And I've even had some people ask about the European formulas, HIP, especially HIPP, and they do have some as well that are have lactose, are organic, and don't have corn syrup solids. So they are other great options, but they're very expensive, and especially when there's good options here like Organic Gentle by Earth's Best. I don't think it's worth spending all the money for the European product. So I think that about wraps it up for formula. So this Saturday, if you tune in at 9 a.m., I will talk about medications that will increase breast milk supply. Mainly there's two of them. One of them is available in the United States, and the other one we have to send for outside the country because there were some bad outcomes on very elderly, sick people in intensive care units. But a lot of my doctor friends who have breastfeeding problems, I see them buying it too. So it's pretty safe for healthy people. So that'll be this Saturday, 9 a.m. Again, I'm Dr. Homan of Canopy Pediatrics. You can see my website at canopypediatrics.com. We're Tallahassee's only concierge practice, which means that we give families 24/7 access to me via text. We will see you in the office in the middle of the night if there's an emergency and your child needs stitches or nebulizer treatments. And I'm also a board-certified lactation consultant, so I can help with breastfeeding issues. So go ahead and reach out to me on Facebook or call if you have any questions. Thanks and good night.